Mathematics Ordinary Level, Paper 2, 2023, Part 1. Before we start with the question paper, always first go through the instructions. So, let's make it a bit bigger, then you can see better. So, I'm just going to put it like this first. Candidates answer on the question paper, very important. In the spaces provided, write your center number, candidate number, and name in the spaces at the top of this page. So there fill in, there fill in. Okay. Write in dark blue or black pen, so not in a light blue pen. You may use a soft pencil for any diagrams or graphs. Do not use correction fluid, no Tipex. Do not write in the margins for the examination use. It's usually there, so don't write there. Okay. Answer all questions. Let's go up. If working is needed for any question, it must be shown below or where working is indicated. So please don't just write the answer. Show your working, okay, because you can have the answer incorrect, but if your working is correct, you can get a mark. The number of marks is given in brackets at the end of each question or part question. Non-programmable calculators may be used. So if you are unsure if your calculator is correct, ask your teacher. If the degree of accuracy is not specified in the question, okay, so unless if the question states nothing, then the answer is not exact. Now, what does that mean? That means if an answer is, say, for example, and I just want to get my pen correct, 2,345, and it stops, it's not going on your calculator, then this isn't exact. So then you do not have to approximate it. You can write that exact answer. Okay, but let's just go back to my pen. If it's not exact and it's not specified in the question, answer to 3 significant figures. Give answers for angles to 1 decimal place. And for pi, either use the button on your calculator or use 3,142. So always don't see, okay, I know all this. Just read through it, refresh your memory, and then you can start with the question paper. Now, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did in paper 1. I'm first going to take you to the examination report before I start. Okay, so let's go through the general marks of the report before we start with the question paper. Paper 2, key message. Candidates are expected to understand the need to work to accuracy, just want to get a pen there, of more than 3 significant figures or more than 1 decimal place for angles when calculations involved a number of steps in the working. Only then can the final answer be given to an appropriate level of accuracy. What does that mean? It's saying to you that you must always first write the full calculator display. If they say 2 steps, write down the full calculator display and work with that. And only the final answer you can approximate to 3 significant figures. Otherwise, your answer will be incorrect or the accuracy will not be correct. Candidates should realize that the answers should be given to 3 significant figures or better, except in questions where a different accuracy is demanded. So when they ask you in the question, say to 2 decimal places, then you must do 2 decimal places. Otherwise, you will lose a mark. This was not always followed. This was particularly evident in question 5D. We can check if we are coming there, with candidates giving the answer to 3 significant, which resulted in an inaccuracy value for the value. So if the question states something different, underline it, that you don't forget it. Better knowledge and understanding of mathematical concepts, terms, and definitions would help candidates to answer questions from the required perspective. For that reason, definitions, descriptions, and appropriate mathematical language and spelling should reserve the necessary emphasis. For example, in question 9a, the first one, some candidates seems not to know the difference between rotation and order rotational. Okay, so if we come to that question, we will highlight that. In addition, many candidates struggle to write the word enlargement in question. So in the previous report, they said, and it's just a hint to the teachers, identify a few, say in the end of the month or end of 2 weeks, a few difficult words to spell, and then identify it, let the students write it down, or give them a mark, and then let them go and study and give them a spelling test, say on a Monday morning, the first 5 minutes, so that they really learn to spell the words correctly. General comments. The majority of learners attempt the whole paper by answering all the questions. The questions were well distributed through the target grades of AC, that means the difficulty level. This is why most candidates completed the paper by making an attempt at most questions. However, it was worrying to see many candidates, both full and part-time, not getting any marks throughout the paper. Sadly, in some centers, many candidates scored a 0 mark out of the possible 120 marks. So it doesn't help you enroll and you are not putting in hours. So put in hours, practice. Mathematics is a practical subject. You cannot think you can just go and write it without practicing. Okay, let's just go on. The standard of presentation and amount of working was generally moderate. Centers should continue to encourage candidates to show formula used, substitutions made, and calculations performed. Candidates should greatly be encouraged to show their working, especially in questions with more than 1 mark, as some marks are usually for the methods used or for correct solutions in the correct formula. So by just substituting correctly, you can already score 1 mark. Showing their working increases the candidate's chance of earning marks, even if their final answer ends up being wrong. It was, however, very disturbing to see that some candidates could not recall some basic formula. So again, make a formula list and study that. You're not having a formula sheet, so study your basic formulas. Or with the spelling test, let the students write down the formulas and make sure that they go and put it in their long-term memory. So like the quadratic formula or even the formula to calculate the area of a rhombus. So when you come to and you see there's a lot of formulas, you as a teacher, they want you to encourage you to make sure that your students know the formulas, and the best is to test them. So premature rounding cost a lot of candidates marks in this paper. Candidates should be taught that only the final answer to the question should be rounded to the degree of accuracy required by the specific question, or in general correct to 3 significant figures, except for limits of accuracy that must never be rounded. However, instead of rounding off their answers, candidates may also be encouraged to write down their full calculator display as their final answer. Many candidates struggle to answer questions on probability and statistics correctly. It seems as if, since these are the last topics in the syllabus, that some centers did not cover them during teaching, and that is sad. So if your teacher work on a specific speed, rather go and sit and work a little bit faster over or catch up in weekends, but don't always dragging your teacher to work slower, because then they don't finish and you lose unnecessary marks. So teachers should make the efforts necessary to teach the whole syllabus in full before the candidates sit for their examination. It was also very evident that many candidates had not the knowledge of the scarce diagram. Okay, but let's first go back to the question paper, and then as soon as we did a question, we will come and see what they are telling us about that specific question. Question number 1. Molezi has 4, 5, 6 cupcakes. to be distributed among the learners in her school. Each learner receives a cupcake. Junior primary learners get a third of the cupcakes. Okay, and it's always good to underline as soon as you see. So a third of the cupcakes. Senior primary learners get 3/4 of the remaining cupcakes, and secondary learners get the rest. So secondary learners get the rest. Work out the number of junior primary learners. Now I'm going to do exactly the same. I will tell you every time where will you find this in my textbooks. So let's say you will find this. Let's make it, let's just get it correct. So it's again in the part 1, mathematics. It's chapter 1, okay? And it's on page 9, and there you will see vulgar and decimal fractions and percentage. So it's very basic, coming even from primary school. Okay, so the number of junior primary learners. So 1/3 of the cupcake. So 1/3 multiply 4, 5, 6. And if you press that on your calculator, 152, and make sure you copy correctly 152. Okay, check on your calculator. That's the correct answer. The number of cupcakes given to secondary learners. Okay, but now 3/4 of the remaining cupcakes. So now first we have to decide what is the remaining. So it's 4, 5, 6, and I subtract the 152. And what will be the remaining? 304. Okay, now I can say 3/4 of 304, and if I press this on my calculator, I get 228. So, but now that is now for the secondary learners. Okay, now senior primary. But now, if I want to find for the final secondary learners, I just take the total, which was 456. And I subtract the 152 of the junior primary, and I subtract the senior primary, the 228, and I'm getting 76. And that is my answer, 76. So express the answer to part 2 as a percentage of the total number of learners. Okay, so now as a percentage, so I just make it, express it as a percentage. So it's 76 over the total 456. Make it a percentage by multiplying it with 100. And then I'm going to, it's always, as I said, if you press 76 and you divide it by 456 and you multiply with 100, you get, and I just want to emphasize it, especially in this, first write this, you see. But then you can say 3 significant. And so first write your full calculator display. Okay, usually there's a 7 also at the end, depending on how many digits it can take. Let's go to the examination report. So if we go to the examination report and we see what they are saying there to us. Okay, and it's going to be the previous. And this is question 1. So let's see what they are saying. So I'm reading to you. Question 1. This question proved to be difficult for many candidates. Many of them could not cope working with fractions, and also some seems to have struggled in understanding how the biscuits were shared. Okay, of cupcakes, doesn't matter. This part question was well answered, the first one. Candidate second one did not answer this question well. Many failed to realize that 3/4 was of the remaining and not the initial, so you have to subtract. Some candidates even had a negative number of the remaining biscuits. Candidates seems to struggle in reading with comprehension, with understanding, especially when there is more information given in the stem of the question. Okay, and then let's just see the calculation. So it was first at 152, okay, then the 76. So, but this was 4 marks. I'll show you now where you would have got the marks, okay. And then the last one was, this part was well answered by candidates. Many even thought though had a wrong answer in the second could correctly express their answer as a percentage. Many candidates also lost 1 mark for giving their answer incorrect, rounded, or not given to free significance. So they, even if you are incorrect there, they used your incorrect and just see if you did the method correctly. Okay, but if we go back to the question paper. Okay, so let's just see the question paper. I just want to show you where they gave you the marks before we go to the next question. So this one was very nice because it was just 1 mark. For this one, you would give, if you 304, and then if you come to this step, and then by subtracting for the final. Okay, so by subtracting and then getting your final. And then this question was for this expression, or multiplying, okay, and then approximate to 3 significant figures. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, I'm just going to move it. Solve the following equation. Okay, again, I want to first always just tell you where to find it in my textbooks. So if you look at this one, okay, so it's part 1. Okay. And it is exponential equations. It's equations. And then it's exponential. And then it's on page 186. And you can look at that example 10. That will help you. Okay. So let's just quickly see what we do. So the first thing we're going to do is to get it on the same level. So it's like 2 to the power of x. And it's 1 over 2 to the power of 2. And then you bring up. So it's 2 to the power of x. And don't forget what happened if you bring it up. The sign changed to the opposite. And then as soon as the bases are the same and you have a base equals a base, then you will get that x is equal to -2. So x is equal to, there's already the x, so it's just -2. Okay. Again, you will get a mark for expressing it like that, and then your final mark. And then the next one, now the next one you cannot express. As soon as you see you cannot go to this, then you think of logs. And where do I find this in the textbook? It's on, it's still part 1. It's exponential, it's logarithmic equations. Page 201, example 29. That will help you. Very basic one. So what you do is you just put logs on both sides. You take logs on both sides. Then you bring the x down. Okay, so it's log 3 equals log 1.5. And then you divide by log 3. And you divide by log 3. Okay, and then you press it on the calculator. Now, if you say log 1.5, let's just press it. Log 1.5 divide log 3 equals, and then don't forget, first your full calculator display. So it's 0.3690700246. Now I can go for 1, 2, 3. So it's 0.369. Don't forget to always first write your full calculator display. Okay. Then I go for the next one. Complete the following. Now, where will I find this? And this will be in part 2. So you can check part 2, this thinner one. And conversions. And there's nice tables to remember it. And it's on page 494. Okay. And I will give you the table if I see it. So I'm just going to quickly. This is kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. It's 1 0. It's 2 zeros. It's 3 zeros. Going to this side, multiply. Coming back, divide. Okay. Okay. So basically, If I want to go from kilometers to meters, I must multiply with 1,000. So what will I get? 2,000. Okay. The next one, if I want to go from kilogram to gram, I'm just going to, because I'm going to use it more than once. So it's ton, and then kilogram, and then gram, and then milligram. But this is just 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Then going to this side, multiply, coming back, divide. So if I look at this one, so just be careful for this one. This one is going to go from gram and milligram. So it's going to go here. But now this was gram. Do you see? And you must go to milligram. So what do you do if you must go to milligram? So if you must go, can I show you here? From gram to, doesn't matter if you read it from this side, look on your sketch. From gram to milligram, I must multiply 1,000. So what do I get? I get 12,000. Okay, take the 12 and multiply it with 1,000. Okay, and then the next one, it's also, you can see the table there. I'm just going to write it down for you again. Let's agree. So there's a table which is saying 1 liter, but then it's saying 1 cubic meters, and that is equal to 1 milliliters. Go there and it's on, I can tell you the page. This was on page 495. And yes, this is on page 495, the rest. So these two are equal. Do you see? So if it's equal, then it's also going to just be what? 25. Okay. And then as again, they gave you a ton one. I must go from ton to kilograms. So I multiply with 1,000. So press on your calculator 0.25, multiply 1,000, and it's going to be 250. Okay, let's go to the examinations report and see if you're correct there. Okay. So basically, let's just see what the report is saying. For the past year, candidates always struggle to solve questions that involve the use of logarithms. It has been observed over the years, so I didn't maybe do that candidates are perhaps not well prepared on this topic. Teachers should put more emphasis, it's the top one, on this topic of logarithms. Solving logarithms, equations, changing from index to log form, and vice versa. For both 2 and 2, some candidates that attempt to use logarithms only applied logarithms on one side. No, you must take it from both sides. So many candidates are this well, those they could answer to fail that it's going to a negative. So -2 and 0.369. And then this one I also did. Question 3, many candidates could not obtain full marks in this question. Part question that proven difficult for a few candidates was C and D. So there was the 2,000, the 12, 100,000, and then 25 and 2. So let's go and study your tables. And if you are using the tables, then again, just like that spelling test and the formula test, then go. And if you are a student and you're just watching the videos, then go at the end or in the morning when your brain is still fresh, just quickly write down that tables for you and check yourself. You don't always have to be checked by a teacher. You can drive yourself to excellence. Okay, I will continue in the next part. All these videos refer to the y equals mx plus c textbooks, the number 1 mathematics textbook used in Namibian schools. For more information on these textbooks, visit the Straight Line Publishing website. All y equals mx plus c to success textbooks are available in the NEET catalogue of the Ministry of Education. Schools can order these using their yearly budget for textbooks, with the process typically starting mid-year. Make sure your learners have a copy of the Y equals mx+c mathematics textbook used by the top schools in Namibia in front of them in 2025. A final point. If you are in the position, I want to encourage you to buy your own personal copy of the Y equals mx+c mathematics textbook. These textbooks are available at the following bookshops. Remember, success in mathematics comes from hard work, perseverance, and the courage to face challenges head on. Good luck with your final 2024 examination.